Are we
Oh,
here?
I got a little scared. I'm not gonna lie.
I think we were both inviting each other, like we were
We
requesting at the
were
same time.
too enthusiastic.
It can't be. You can't be too enthusiastic
Oh
in my book.
my God, we're starting strong. How are you?
I'm so happy to be here. Look at these candles. Hi, everyone who's here.
Hi,
I
everyone. Thank you for
feel
being
like
here.
I see some familiar names and I just want to say hello. And like, this is just such a delight.
Thank you. It is an honor. I was telling people that you are my coach, my mentor, and this to me is such a gift. I'm so grateful that you're here. Just so people know, we're gonna be playing with Princess Diana
You got
paper doll.
you got it too? Oh my
Oh
God.
my
Okay.
God, yes. The way this works is that the guest chooses what we both do so that I can
Right,
play
right.
with your inner child.
This is deep. This
Yeah.
is deep. Okay.
Well, I actually want to start right off with like little Liz and any core memories that you would love to share with us, how you entertained yourself, like what brought you the most joy when you were little.
Okay, well, I had actually an insight
Oh,
getting ready for this today. Because like receiving this, okay, these are Diana, Princess Diana paper dolls. So if anyone else, like I
they're
was
really
such
cool.
a child of the late 80s, early 90s. Um, so receiving this was like a whole thing
Tell me.
because like when I was a little kid, I loved, there were the things like I know I loved, like I loved writing and I'm an only child and so I spent like so much time alone as a kid. So shout out to any of the other only children out there. I mean, it's just so um it really was like so much kind of time on the inside of my mind. And I
Yeah.
knew that. Like I knew that was part of my growing up. But and like I danced, like there were all these things. It's like what I always say when people say, "What did you play when you were little?" I was like, I walked in the trees and I wrote stories and I talked to myself and I danced. But like because we had to choose something that we could do together, I was like, oh, well, like I really love dolls and paper dolls and beauty and fashion.
Yeah.
So into fashion. And I think so the awakening this had in me and like and I'm curious, what this has been like for you is like I think our inner children are dropping every single clue you need. Like they literally give you everything. And
Okay.
so often we're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And what was that one thing that lit you up when you were a kid? And I do think there's like power in that. But what I think there's really power in is almost looking at like all of it and like all of the ways you played and sort of maybe this is just the insight I had preparing for today. I was like, actually the thing that you wouldn't say first that you played, like maybe that thing, because I'm kind of embarrassed about playing with paper dolls because it's like it requires me to kind of confront just some stuff around femininity and like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's sort of like, it's like, oh, clothes, like that feels like I had a judgment about it.
Wow.
But getting it, I was like, because your inner child doesn't lie. Like enthusiasm
Oh,
doesn't lie. It's not like as a little kid I was like judging that I loved Princess Diana in fashion. I was literally just filled up from head to toe with enthusiasm and joy, which is the point of your, these beautiful playdates and your
yeah.
body of work.
Yeah.
So all that is to say, I think maybe there's like so much richness for us in like what were all the things you love to play? And maybe it's like the golden thread between all of those things, like that's the thing that we're discovering instead of like that one thing that like tells you the
That
the truth about.
defines you. Yeah. Oh my God. This is literally my life's work right now. As you
Yeah,
know, like
yeah,
what we think we know who we were, but in experiencing the little things that we used to do, I found such like a well of resources and creative inspiration, and it really is like I'm so happy that we went straight to it because it really has been life changing. And this is the last little play date for a while, but learning about people's like inner child and joy and the shame that they overcame. It just has been a true gift. And I'm so grateful you're here. And I would
Right.
love, like, so when you received this, what did you, what did it feel like? What did it remind you of?
It feels like a homecoming. I mean, so like I'd be so curious, like anyone who's here and in the chat. Oh, I'm supposed to be doing this, right? Okay. We're
So
gonna do
you
this.
can do it or not, but like basically the idea is that we
Yeah.
play as we talk.
No, we're gonna do it. Play is the way.
Play is the way.
Play is the way. That's your theme song. Okay. Because I was thinking about Playdate and I was like, oh, we need like you need a Playdate theme song.
Oh my God, play is the way.
No,
It
I
is
mean I'm not writing it. I'm not a songwriter. You're gonna write a beautiful song for
one day
Playdate.
there's gonna be oh my God, I love this. Yes, I want a theme song.
Well, because okay, so like I have small kids, as you know, and so I have these like kid shows in my ear all day long, but the theme songs never leave your
No.
mind. They never leave your mind. So if you had a theme song that like had subliminal inspirational messages, but was also really hip and cool. Anyway, thinking
That
about
is,
that.
I mean, I think it would definitely be like children inspired, but without the like the
Annoying.
factor of like, please stop it, the annoying factor.
Yeah, no, it would. There's nothing. You can't be annoying if you tried.
Oh
So
my God.
okay, so because I guess like so I'm just so curious. I'm really like and so curious for you and others is like what what was the thing you loved to play that you haven't thought about in a while? Because like this was the thing that I hadn't thought about in a while, and then I started to think about how much I love beauty.
Yeah.
And actually, it's like a huge value of mine, but it's one, something I've really learned in my work is like we have the values that are really clear and we lead with, and we're like, oh, that's my value. That's so clear, like courage and creativity. But then there are values that are a little bit more kind of like on the edge because they're really, really true, but maybe there's a part of you that's judging them or like you're not, I don't know, you're not fully in alignment with them. And I think beauty is that for me.
Beauty
Like,
is tough.
yeah, because it like I think I had to go through maybe a couple of decades where I was like, because I thought my value of beauty had to do with like myself and my
Yeah.
appearance. I think sort of a younger version of myself thought that.
Yeah.
And really it's like the beauty of yeah, anyway, it's like the beauty of the world and I'm just I don't know, something about these paper dolls helped me remember that again because your inner child, she doesn't lie.
Yeah. Exactly. I think a huge thing is that your message is so much about empowering women and about how strong they are and creative. And the society that has like pushed us to the side has also put these like impossible beauty standards on us. So it feels like we can't say yes to that,
Right.
or we can't admit that we want that because we are bigger, and bolder and braver. But then you also really have, like, I find real joy in princess and pink and makeup and I want to be really pretty,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I love feeling beautiful, but then I feel sometimes guilty that like I know I look good, but I can't,
Oh, well, that, right. Well, and then that's sort of the whole thing, this like patriarchal element of like we can't feel proud of ourselves and we sort of can't own the experience. But it's so interesting. It's like this feeling around beauty has really been reckoning with the patriarchy for me to the point where I was like, F beauty.
Yeah.
Like I just want to like tell the truth and be strong. And so but when you receive something, and I hope everyone listening has the experience of some, like, a light and force in their life, like Lorena, sends them a thing, an artifact from childhood. This is not just like a random paper. This is like the book that I played with.
The book.
And as an only child, it was like my, play was my companion because I was so alone like a lot of the time. So it was like, these were like my people, like it was like in my side of my head. So it really does. There's something beyond words that happens when you kind of touch into that piece of yourself. And I think what's so cool about the work you're doing is like the inner child is like now really popular, like in therapy
Yeah.
and in sort of all this trauma recovery stuff, which is amazing and like and so necessary. And I think we're doing so much work reparenting and like undoing the trauma that our inner children went through
Yeah.
that it's also like and like and they were creative goddesses
Yeah.
and just full of light, and you're kind of awakening this, you are awakening this.
Oh,
So it's been a teaching for me, to remember that. Anyway,
oh,
so here I am with Diana because she was also an icon,
she
shall we
wasn't.
not?
Oh my God. And I love that they teach you too because it says who designed it, when she wore it. Like, I've never played with paper dolls before, and I am fascinated. And I hope I do it right.
I know. Well, you were like, you like don't, it's so interesting. I think you're different, like a slightly younger generation, and maybe you all weren't playing with paper dolls as much. I think it's maybe more of
Yeah.
like an 80s thing.
Well, maybe. And also, I don't know because I did grow up in Mexico, so I don't.
Okay.
I don't know. This feels very this side,
Yeah,
you
sure.
know.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's that
But
piece of
she
it
was
too.
an icon to us as well. Like I remember seeing her and just being blown away. But then reading that she was 19 at this beauty point was also very overwhelming. Oh my God,
Yeah.
Alexa loves paper dolls.
What did you
Um,
say?
Alexa loves paper dolls.
Hi, Alexa. Yeah, okay, we're
Yeah.
like paper dolls forever.
Can you tell me about the first spark that you felt to pursue a creative career? Like, what in your childhood gave you hints? I think it has to do with dancing, but I
Hmm.
would love to know the journey to make the decision to become a creative.
So I grew up in a family of artists. My mom is a Renaissance musician. My dad is an opera singer, an opera stage director, and they were both also running nonprofits, like arts organizations.
Oh my God.
So there was no decision. It was like who we were. Like
Wow.
we I have a very different experience than so many of my clients, like so many people that I know. It was like the family business was art. And there was, I don't ever remember making a decision to be on a creative path. I think that was like the water I was swimming in.
Oh,
Interesting.
so
And not, not
special.
conventional. So what a gift. What a gift that I never had to fight for the right. So something I just grew up knowing. A gift of my childhood is like your creative voice matters. You know,
Wow. You
like
knew that always.
I just knew that, I think. Now, then I forgot it for like 20
Right,
years
right, right.
because you have to forget the wisdom you come into the world with and then you remember it. So we come into this world with the wisdom.
Yeah.
And then I think you spend a period of time, the culture teaches you to forget it because if you remember it, the culture will evolve and then the culture is like effed because
Yeah.
so we have to remember it. And I think that that was one of the things I had to learn. So then by the time I sort of started having a career, I started as a dancer and then was an actor and a director. I actually
You
had
were a
completely
director?
forgotten.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did. I directed for several years, kind of as I was transitioning from performing and acting into what I'm doing now, and I love
We're going
directing.
to talk about this.
But at that point, when I actually was like in the unions, being paid, was being paid to be an artist, I had completely forgotten that my creative voice mattered, and I had completely forgotten actually how to be creative, and I was an artist, but I had forgotten um, sort of what like the trusting the uncertainty and the mystery and sort of all of these elements of creativity, I was so immersed in it as sort of a rubric of me being a good or a bad person and me making money or not making money.
Yeah.
And so I kind of ended up sort of learning, like remembering that later.
Oof. Okay, I have to jump into this. One of the biggest, not one, the biggest lesson that I've learned from our work together is the concept that your creative ideas have a soul of their own. And
Oh yeah.
that the idea has all the answers and they already know who they are. And so the process becomes about saying yes and then trusting the unknown and trusting the process of discovery.
Yeah.
And that Liz Kimball, that changed my life. It took the pressure away from being good. It just, you say it so beautifully, your next becoming. So can you tell me about where or how this like lesson came to you? What was the creative project that woke this like, excuse me, um, becoming the next version of yourself through your creative processes?
Mm.
I It's just the most deep, powerful concept in my life these days.
Well, I love hearing that. It's freeing, right?
So free.
So I was raised in a culture where a kind of creative culture. So I was raised in this culture of artists, and then I have a lot of arts training, and I trained as a ballerina, and it for so long it was impossible for me to sort of separate creative success, which was very clear, like you get into that ballet summer program and then you get into the company and then that was creative success. It was so hard for me to separate that from like my goodness as a person. Like I literally didn't know, and I think that's part of growing up in an arts world is like it's who we are, and therefore, each creative milestone is just like another, way you're sort of amazing in the world, and another way people love you,
Wow.
which is like, complex.
Yeah.
And so as a result of that kind of way of relating to creative work, I I was in so much pressure as an art, like the internal environment, my creative room at a certain point was so pressurized. I can't even believe people hired me. I mean, I can't even believe like I ever got jobs because I don't feel like I felt free. Like somehow, thank God, I sort of
Yeah.
people trusted me enough to like cast me in things and bring me in for things, and then I would eventually, I think, find my way. But I was so wrapped up in being good, and that I to succeed, that meant that I was a good person, and if I somehow like failed at anything, then I was like a bad person. I mean, that's sort of like, I mean, I know that feels kind of basic, but as I've studied this now with clients for so long, it it gums up our creative process.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how these ideas come to me, because I don't know how any ideas come to me, because I believe it is a mystery beyond words and beyond something. I just think it is a spiritual process, the
Oh my God,
relationship we
yes.
have with our creativity and what comes to it. And you've been going through such a year of it, and like, because it just, I mean, to me, creativity, she's a wild mistress, and she
I
visits
love
you, and
wildlife.
she just brings you, she she flows things through you. So I don't know how it came to me, but why I think part of it came to me was to help take some of the pressure off the act of creating, and to start to separate ourselves from like our worth, which is unconditional, right? Like all of us, we matter unconditionally. We are worthy because we are born. It has nothing to do with our creative output, which I didn't know until, I spent many years thinking that those two were collapsed together, and starting to really see, but that's quite egotistical, because you're like, oh, I'm responsible for all of my creative work. Like, to start to understand that this is just a much more mystical
Yeah.
process
Yeah.
sort of any of my training, I think really unlocked for me. And so to feel, to it just felt so much better to me to collaborate with a creative project and that it has its own energy and its own soul. But I do want to say that, like, I believe you can't, the creative soul of your project can only be accessed by you.
Right.
It's so
Oh,
interesting. There's a kind of a popular
that's
belief, right? There's like a popular belief about creative
the
ideas.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, like they're in the ether. And this is a great belief. Like, some people sort of really subscribe to this, that if you don't get it sort of at a certain time, someone else is going to get it.
Yeah.
And I think that has to do with like the zeitgeist and sort of topics and sort of like areas of work, but no one sees the world the way you do.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine, like, no, your idea was only, I believe, only meant for you. So that it does have a soul, but only you can access that soul.
Oh,
And then you're collaborating with something as opposed to like at war with yourself. You know, there's this book,
hallelujah.
the
Like,
war, the war. It's just not a war. Like, I just don't think it's a war. But I was a ballet dancer, and it was a war for so many
oh
years.
my God.
Sort of this
Yeah.
war with yourself as you are bringing forth, your
Yeah.
expression. And I don't think, like, why are we here? Because this was never a war.
Oh
Like,
my
it was
God.
never a war to express. Did we pick the same dress?
We picked the same dress. You guys, there's like 80 dresses in here.
Okay, so there's magic happening.
There's
There's a lot of dresses.
no, literally, it's like a book full of different dresses.
Why? Okay, do you have a feeling of why you picked this dress?
I mean, little Lore picked it. It has
Tell me about
bows.
that.
It has bows and it's off the shoulder. It's like her dream.
Okay, so like, but you're right. That's 90s. That's like some 90s
I
stuff
was
going
little
on.
Lore at the 90s, in the 90s.
Oh, she picked it. Look how you're
How
so
did you pick it?
tapped in. It was way more cerebral. Well, no, I was like, little Liz would pick this,
Okay.
and adult Liz was about to do the one pantsuit in the whole thing.
Oh my God,
She was
where is
about
the pantsuit?
well,
Oh,
it's
the
like a red
Africa.
cross. Yes.
Yes.
But I was about to do that. That was like what I gravitated, and I was like, no, I'm just gonna. And little Liz, I remember this dress. I too love it off the shoulder.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I can't believe we picked the same one. I
I
wanted to
can.
say about what you were saying, like what it really does, and I think that's where the shift is. It teaches you to fall in love with process and not trying to produce all the time, like results all the time. And
Yeah.
in that, I think the creative process like is injected with magic and innovation and that really is the best lesson for life. Like, enjoy now as you move forward, but without the like desperation to achieve the next step. Just the beauty of the process, basically.
Yeah, and as you're saying that, it reminds me that I think so many of us were not taught that the process can be a wonderful place to be, especially when the process is so unseen by our culture,
Yeah.
and it's sort of like you don't feel like you matter when you're in process. Like, you only feel like you matter when you're like, look, mom, I did the thing. And I'm also
Yeah.
parenting right now, and I'm so up against this because I'm like praising my child's artwork, and I'm like, let's talk about the process
Yes.
so that I'm not just like wiring into your brain that when the thing is sort of done and beautiful,
Done.
that's when you matter. And also, done is great, but it's always both and. But it's, I think that to even get to a place, in this, like, where you can start to see the process as like a place to become yourself. So that's the other idea I think that really helped me. So I guess you asked where these came from. I truly think they came to help me along my way. Like, I think that they always come in dark moments where you're like, I need a new way of seeing, because the way I'm seeing is keeping me in the darkness. And so this idea that your creative work, whether that's like a project or a career pathway, like I even look at sort of chapters of our career, like it's just one really big project.
Yeah.
But you, that instead of the goal being, I have to get to that point, and that point is usually determined by sort of linear culture. It's like, oh, we all kind of have that for our different career paths. Like that's what would be sort of success. But if success is really to, like, literally the only point of having a creative project or having a creative goal is to become more of who I am, then again, we're just trying to get the pressure out of the room. It helps take the pressure out of the
Yeah.
room. And then I think you can be more alive, and then your work is better. And it's not that it's not about creating beauty and the gift to give to other people, and all of that's there. But I think in the process, if we do it consciously, we are evolving who we are.
Oh
And
my
and
God.
it changes you. I mean, you're experiencing that all over right now.
Yeah, in big ways. And I think the fact that, to me, like what I've learned is that those moments, if you infuse them with your joy, then you find it liberates everything, and you find like all kinds of magic in the process and learn. So the fact that the like equation for me seems to be like joy, creativity will lead to your like highest self, to the next version of you, and to
Mm,
your dreams, is such an exciting lesson. It's
yeah.
so like, it fills me with hope that like, oh, what makes my, I come from a Catholic background, and so I wasn't really taught that what makes my soul light up is where it's at.
No,
I
no,
was
joy is like prolonged, right? I mean, there's some, is that right? I'm not in that background, but
well, it is. It's sort of like not important. What matters
okay.
is
Mm,
sacrificing in order to achieve grace, and being perfect. It just felt a little more restricted. And the biggest thing that I was taught is that maybe what God wants from me is not what I want for myself. And
mm,
my brain was like, no, because I really wanted to be an artist. But I kept getting voices that, like, I don't think God wants that for you. And I'm like, and where I'm at today is like, this calling, this soul shimmering is what God is what God put there, is what, like, and that I think is a big shift.
oh, I love it. Maya Angelou talks about like being obedient to your calling, like obedient to your calling. And it's like, it's obedient to the, I mean, enthusiasm is such a powerful word for me because it like has the root word of, entheos, which is God, like it is divine, like you literally, hi everyone who's joining. It is literally, you are just accessing that which is divine inside of you.
It's so powerful. I have a big question for you.
I love a big question.
Great. So, if each project evolves us into the next version of ourselves, right? With this belief, if you could write a biography, of an outline for a biography of your soul in this life, what are the projects that like marked you the most, and what did you learn from them?
Mm.
Is that clear?
Yeah,
Okay.
I love that. The biography of your soul. I think, career chapters are also our projects.
Oh, for
And so I was a ballet dancer for 20 years, and I think that truly shaped so much of who I am. I may have stayed a little bit too long. I was starting to hear the whispers that were like, okay, like I'm on this path. I was on a, I thought I was on a professional path to be a dancer, and I was starting to hear these whispers like, we all know those whispers. Like the whispers don't lie. They just, whether it's clear to you or whether it's just like a something here is not quite right. Um, but the thing that ballet taught me is sort of this devotion. Like it just taught me, it was my first love, and it taught me showing up. Like I truly, my first rule of creativity is showing up. Like it, and ballet taught me to show up.
Yeah.
Like to show up every day regardless of how you feel.
Yeah.
And then actually I had this wonderful ballet teacher that was not, she was so expansive, and it wasn't like you had to like become a robot and you couldn't sort of bring your full self into the door. Like she was like, bring your full self. So I think I
Oh,
learned in ballet to bring my full self, and devotion.
wow.
And
Well, because
then
comes with it comes with a lot, ballet, with a lot of sacrifice and pain, and I think it's one of the art forms that takes out the most of you
yeah.
physically in what it requires of you. I know there's others that are very strict, but ballet specifically, I think, comes with you giving everything you have.
Yeah, I think that something I've been working through in my career, and I probably couldn't have worked through this if I stayed in ballet, but is this idea that like we don't have to sacrifice our well-being and our bodies on the altar of good work, so that like we don't have to kill ourselves to bring forth what we're meant to bring forth, like to bring forth a beautiful thing. And for me, like I grew up with parents who killed themselves. They made great art, but it's cost in so many ways almost everything. And I think there was just this piece of me, this curiosity in me that was, probably showed up as like pain, but I was like, I don't want that life. I don't want to feel like the only way to make a beautiful thing is to cost,
To suffer.
to suffer.
Yeah. And it's such
So
an age-old belief.
it's in the
Yeah.
lineage for, I think we're unpacking it. We are like, people are rewriting it. It's really powerful, the conversations are. I mean, I think that it's just like a movement, which
Yeah.
is so beautiful. But I think that I became a person who cared about that through ballet, because I had all the things of that really big challenges psychologically and with eating disorders that were sort of almost like, they were required. It was like part of the job, and I made a really strong choice. I think one of my greatest gifts that I sort of came into the world with is that I can really hear myself. Like I've always been able to really hear myself,
Well,
and I think I remember where I was. I was at Miami City Ballet for the summer, and I was just like, what this is doing to your body and your mind is not your life.
oh,
Like,
wow.
it's not your life. And that was a turning point for me.
Wow.
But that was part of, now I'm somebody who really cares about that and helps other people with it. And that came to me through that chapter, I think.
And I was going to ask you this, and since we're here, to you, in your opinion, what is the difference between giving up on a dream versus an aligned pivot to a place you can't even imagine is so wonderful, you know?
I think the only way you can give up on a dream is if you're hearing the call and you ignore the call. So if
Yeah.
I don't believe you have a vision unless you have what it takes to actualize it. Like, I just don't believe that.
Yeah.
So you, for as long as you are called by something, then that dream is for you. But at a certain point, in my experience, I think a dream will stop calling for you at some point. And I think that's just because you've learned everything you need to learn from that particular dream. So the dream is just a container for you to become who you are. So you learn what you need to learn, and then it's like, oh, I don't actually need this anymore.
Yeah.
There's so much cultural stuff around, like, you gave up on that thing.
Yeah.
But if it stops calling to you and you're really being true to yourself, it's the bravest, most beautiful thing to say, oh, I got it. I got this far. I got where I need. And sometimes it's like literally you just need to, it doesn't feel like you got anywhere, but you did. It took you
Yeah.
somewhere. And then something bigger is here. So you've outgrown the dream. It's just that your life is trying to expand beyond whatever that container is.
Yeah. You have a whole TED talk on this, and like actually, and people should go see it. It's so about grieving our childhood dreams, and it keeps popping up for me throughout this challenge because little Lorde she could never imagine what was in store. So her dreams were limited by what she thought was possible, but now her wildness influences what I think is possible with what I know.
And you were using, I imagine, what you knew, right? It's like firefighter, ballet dancer, whatever
Right. What I've had.
And these are just sort of careers, which are just containers. You were using them to workshop like your expression. You were like, oh, is this where I should express? Is this where is like, there was something about me that was like trying to get to something around beauty, I think. And to be honest, like luxury and elegance. Okay. So if I'm like really being honest on your Instagram live, a repressed kind of desire I have has to do with sort of this like luxury and sort of elegance and the princess kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And so, right, but I like don't want to believe that about, there's a part of me that doesn't want to believe that. So anyway, but then you get older, and then that's why the childhood dream, the way it was usually sort of tied to a career, it's not about that. It's about what the energy your child was trying to express through that want.
Yes. And I mean, for me, because to me, I was like, mom, I would be a mom and I will be a great wife. And like, truly, that was the vision. And it still is part of the vision. But what she wanted was to be accepted, was for people to like her, like a boy.
Sure.
And I also have great like wall up around that desire as I keep growing and wanting to evolve. I'm like, I do want to be a mom, but also not only, and also, like,
yeah, in
the same way, if I connect in how you speak about wanting beauty and luxury, which I very much want, and I've never pretended that I did it.
Yeah, that's great.
That was not an issue. But yeah, I think what you just said about like, it's the spirit that matters. It's like the why and the what inside,
And moms, and I should listen to this in this moment too, moms shape culture, like, because culture are humans. And so you're shaping humans. And now look what you're doing. You're shaping culture. You shape culture through artistic performances. You shape culture through what you're doing right now. So perhaps little Laura was just interested in that, honestly, like, impact.
Oh my God. This is so good. I want to ask you, what was the moment? What made you? I want to know how you came to be Liz Kimball, coach, speaker, creative catalyst. Like, what was the thing that woke that up in you that made you believe this was your calling? And what is a program that you've developed or a teaching that has changed your life or your business or the course of your business?
The career path I'm on now, the kind of path that I am on, was born through a chapter of operatic struggle and angst.
Oh.
And this is just to say my prayer for anyone listening who may be going going through any of that right now. It is just truly, in my work, I have never seen it not be the precursor to a breakthrough. And whether that breakthrough is around clarity, or whether that breakthrough is around acceptance, or whether it's on like some magnificent opportunity that you call into your life, but you never know it when you're crying on your bathroom floor.
No.
You don't. You
No.
just feel, I just felt like there was something, but I didn't know what. So it was the space between knowing I need to kind of leave the ecosystem I'm in. I need to leave something. Like I need to like walk out that path and go on that, like leave that known path and go on the unknown path.
Yeah.
But I don't know where the unknown path is leading.
Well, because it's unknown.
Right. Duh, it's unknown. So, but it wasn't like, oh, there, I'm going to go build a coaching business, or I'm going to go, start writing and speaking. None of that. First of all, that wasn't a career at that point.
Right.
I mean, a few people were doing it, but it, in the time, like I've now been doing this for, 7 years, really officially. And in this time, the whole, this has really become a career path, but it wasn't when I was doing it. So I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was pointing to. I was literally just responding to a voice inside of myself that was like, there's something more for you.
Yeah.
So
And what were what action? Like what step when you heard that, like, what action did you take?
Oh, I did a lot of overthinking
Great.
and crying.
Great.
And probably exhausting the people around me with like, what am I going to, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing conversations, to the point where they were like, yeah, we're that's great. Let's move on from this.
Yeah.
And, but I prayed. I made a prayer. And I didn't know how to pray at that time. I still don't know. I don't know. I don't think there is a way to pray that's right or wrong.
Correct. I agree.
I think that at that time, though, I remember exactly where I was in my apartment in New York City, in Harlem. I loved that apartment, by the way. Loved it. And I said, I know there's something more.
Yeah.
Can you show me? I just said, show me. Like, I just said, there's something more, and show me. At that time, I was acting and directing, and there were parts of it that were really fulfilling to me, but I was just 100% clear.
Yeah.
It was not where I was going. And I, to the question around, like, what do these chapters teach you? Like, I learned through acting how to be in the moment, and how to listen to people, and how to be, like, how to trust my voice. And that was, like, amazing. And I never wanted to be an actor. I never wanted to be an actor. But there was a piece inside of me that was like, you got to stay here. And I kept doing it until I was on stage one day. I was doing the Three Sisters, Chekhov's The Three Sisters. I'll never forget this. And it was an incredible version of the Three Sisters, where all, and I know you know Chekhov, but for those of you who don't, it's a play with a lot of different characters. But in this play, the Three Sisters played all of the characters. They kind of played all of the people. And it was beautiful. Carmela Marner was the director. It was a beautiful production.
Whoa.
And so, but I was on stage and I was playing one of the roles, not the kind of sister I was playing. And it was direct address. And it was like really kind of this moment with the audience. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be characters anymore. Like, I just want to talk to you. And I just was so clear. And I was like, oh my God. But I went to grad school, and like, what, I'm here,
Right.
like, what am I, but you can't, the soul does not lie.
No.
So I heard that, and then it was a process of kind of, a lot of listening. And then I sort of fell into coaching. I like started teaching. I started doing like corporate. I started doing workshops in corporate, and kind of somehow somebody just called me up. It's just the way it happened. Somebody called me up and was like, "Would you teach a workshop on voice, voice and presentation, communication?" Yeah. And I was like, yes, because there was that part of me that was like, I just need to experiment right now. Something is trying to come out of me. And then that led to working for a coaching company, and I was like, oh, and I was still acting a little bit, and I remember being in a show in a production, and I couldn't wait to get home from the production and like write about coaching, write about coaching and
Uh,
design this curriculum. And I was just like, oh, it's clear, that it's clear now to
yeah.
me. And I'm in love with my work, and I'm in love with the past career, the way, the things that got me
Yeah.
here. But I wake up every day like I can't wait to do this
How
work.
you
It's such a great
coaching?
job.
It's like it's a divine calling. Like it's really beautiful to witness the magic of the moment and you really listening to your intuition and helping. It's so magical. And
It's such
what
an honor. I mean,
oh
and you're doing it too. It to me, it's like the greatest honor of my life
yeah.
to walk alongside people. That's all I'm doing. Like I'm not telling anyone what to do or telling any, it is literally just all, can I walk alongside of you, and can we make an environment where what you know is revealed to you? Like,
It's beyond it's to me one of the biggest gifts about saying yes. It what has astounded me and surprised me is especially how when you say yes to a project, the project says yes to you in big
yeah,
ways. And it's sort of like the moment you decided, you're like, I think I need to coach, and someone's like, excuse me, we need a teacher. Like that happened to me. I was like, I think I want to teach a workshop, and a friend was like, hey, will you teach a workshop? I was like, yes. Like it just, and in the
listening. The
even
universe is
writing
listening.
in big ways, and it's that dream that you have, like the moment that you say yes to that creative idea, the idea brings you the dreams that you didn't think you were ready for, I feel like so much about the artistic career is waiting to have a following before you take big brave action, and you taught me to like reverse that thought, and in doing so it feels like everything is happening in a bigger way than I could have anticipated before, you know
And if you had been able to anticipate it, it wouldn't be fun. Because we're turned on by the unknown and by mystery. I think that's the big lie. Well, one of the big lies of the
yeah.
patriarchy and in patriarchal world culture is you have to know the answer. And the answer is better than the question. And instead, if it's always like you just do, you follow the next thing and then more is revealed.
And the power of questions, like just having the question opens a door,
It
and then you have more
totally.
questions. And
I always think my gravestone, I don't think I'm going to be buried, but I've always thought, I think I'd like to be a tree. I think I'd like to become a
oh
tree
my
when
god,
I
that
die.
sounds great.
Yeah, we
Me too.
could all become trees. But I think if I had a gravestone, it would read, she had a lot of
Yeah,
questions. she,
a lot of
she
questions.
asked a lot of questions.
I think I've been thinking about this week. Like I have a document of questions that is never ending. And a huge breakthrough is just writing the question down, like, hey, I hear you, and moving on where it's flowing without having to answer everything. And I think in the creative process, we want answers. And you've given me like freedom around questions, and not even freedom, but power around questions.
I think going back to our inner children, there was probably a part of us, growing up in the culture. So we like were these incredibly imaginative, beautiful sparks, and then culture comes in. I remember this day. So I just, one of the things this conversation is making me realize is like every stop in the way just had a gift. Every stop had a gift,
Yeah.
even when you didn't know there was a gift. So I appreciate you for asking these questions because it's like it's opening that up. And one of my favorite jobs ever, right out of college, I got to New York and I had my agent and I was like, I'm going to be a famous actress, which I didn't even really want to be. But anyway, but I was like, that's the dream I'm supposed to have, so I'm going to have it. But I started teaching ballet because it was just how I could make money. And then I ended up like truly I encountered it was like I was actually meant to go teach ballet to through these little girls, like to receive some of the biggest gifts of my life. Like they literally just showed me what
Oh,
matters, you know, and you just don't know. You know, here I am like in Connecticut just teaching these girls. But anyway, so I remember this one day, this one girl I taught kind of 5 to 7 year olds, and that period is often when the spark can start to get diminished, especially in young
yeah,
girls in our culture.
yeah.
So I remember this girl, Stella, and she was just like, every class, she was just like, had a million questions, and she had gone home and thought about like the whole thing we did last week, and she was in the front of the line, and she just, her curiosity was not, like, you could not satiate her
Unhinged.
curiosity, which I really relate
I
to.
love
Like, does
that.
anyone else relate to that? You're just like, if I really let myself be as curious as I am, it's actually a freaking force, and it's
Yeah.
so powerful. Like our curiosity is not, women's curiosity is not appropriate in this culture. It is truly a threat to the culture. So there's all these messages that it's not okay. So anyway, Stella, insatiable curiosity. I remember the week she came into class and she had no more questions.
No.
Stella had no more questions. And it was also the week I started to notice she didn't want to stand at the front of the line, and she had a relationship with herself in the mirror that I could tell she was taught to see herself in a different way. And that way was
This is really affecting me. Like, what happened? Do you know?
I we all know, right? Like
Right.
something there was just a message. It can come in so many different places that you are too much. Like your curiosity is too much. The space you're taking up is too much.
Yeah.
I feel like one of my purposes in this world is to kind of undo that, whatever happened to Stella between that week and the next week, and kind of get us back to that place. Because if we really unleash our insatiable curiosity, the world will
Change.
change and heal. We'll see, it
Yeah.
will, the world will be more, in my opinion, it will be less violent, and it will be more beautiful.
Oh my God.
But it's a real work of a lifetime to go back and nurture that, because I think we were taught in kind of really obvious ways, but so many non-obvious ways that,
Right.
yeah.
Well, a huge breakthrough this year for me has been that too muchness. Oh my God, I'm so emotional, Liz. Uh, that too muchness is what is the superpower. That is the key. That the bigness of your dreams. I don't know if bigness is the word, but the size and the scope of your curiosity and your dreams, and you owning that is the key to your success. And I think if every single woman, man, marginalized community could understand that that is what makes them special, and that is what will break make them break through, the world would change. It just would be a utopia.
And the cool thing about curiosity is it's abundant, and we can't have enough of it, because we only need everyone. Like that's why it's like such a great team effort.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of my early career so waiting for someone to say to me, you are talented enough, keep going. Like I was like, somebody just come tell me
Yeah.
that, because I'm a practical woman. Like I just want to, I want somebody to tell me you should, you have permission to do this or you don't.
Yes.
And my big realization is, if you're always in that paradigm, like I'm waiting for permission, then I'm always sort of in the mindset that there's only some of us that are needed, and there's only like a very specific part of me that's needed.
Mm.
But really, we need all of us, and we need all of our curiosity, because we need more ways of seeing and more ways of expressing. That's what will heal us. And so then there's literally no competition, or there's no, like, I'm not being facetious in that I understand there's supply and demand in markets, and that happens, but from the idea that, like, the way I see and the way I express are needed and worthy, the answer is yes. And when we can stop negotiating with that, we free up so much energy. Like, look at you, like you are prolific right now, and you will continue to be prolific, and there's just, you are energized.
Yeah. And I think, in taking it back to beauty, and it's like what sucks energy and what gives us energy, and really focusing on what lights us up versus what we thought, like, that wasn't clear, but it is special to oh my God, my train of thought left me.
It's magic happening. Whenever you lose your thought, it's because magic is trying to enter the room.
Oh my God, you are welcome into this room.
Something new is happening. So when we lose our thought, we think, oh God, I lost my thought. Maybe it's just what I tell myself in my motherhood.
No, I love it. I am
chaos.
owning it.
But I think it's that there's something new is trying to come online. You might not know it today, but it's actually great.
How do you, so as an entrepreneur, I have two more questions. As an entrepreneur, there are so many things to do. It's shocking. And, like, the ideas are just overflowing, and you could focus on any which thing. But how do you personally know what the best next idea is, and what is, like, oh, that's great, that's gonna be next year, or 5 years, and how do you know what the best next thing to do for you is?
So my philosophy on, I have a small business, and my philosophy on the small business, or anyone who has a small ecosystem, or any size ecosystem really, actually, is that we're not going to create true, beautiful, aligned work if what's best for the ecosystem is not also what's best for the people leading it. So number one, your last question of, like, how do I know what's right for me, and I'm not ever going to go down a path that doesn't feel right for me. And as I just had 2 kids, I've been kind of birthing babies for the last 4 years. And as a result, and what that, the kind of threshold and journey that's been mentally, and it's really been sort of walking through all kinds of dark forests and beautiful forests, and and what it's taught me is, like, my mental and physical health are the first priority. And so, because my ecosystem is small, I'm very in touch with that. And so I basically have so many ideas, and I execute 1 or 2 at a time. So maybe there's 100 ideas a week, and maybe we are really actually moving on only 1 or 2. I really believe in the creative sprint, so I really kind of think we can only birth 1 project, you can't, like, birth 2 babies at a time. Like, you can have twins, but you can't, like, I can't have 1 baby and another baby. So I think something that I've noticed just in creators, we get stopped up by trying to bring forth too many things at one time. And it can really it affects morale, because you're like, oh, I'm never getting this complete, and I'm just I have, like, way too many things. I think you can have things that are incubating and that are sort of simmering, but the discipline I try to hold myself to is we're really only bringing forth 1 thing at a time. And I think really deeply about what that is, because our time is everything. In terms of how do I decide that, I'm at the point now, so I've spent some time in my entrepreneurial career pursuing things that other people say are a good idea.
Oh.
And it never works. Like it just never works. And if I just follow the truth for what feels right for me, it sort of always works.
I mean, you know that like my line about what I've learned through working with you is that the how to can come from the inside. And to me, that applies to everything in life. Like, I've never thought that I could write a full screenplay by myself. I never thought like that I could run a business. And in listening to that voice, and that voice only is how you thrive. And what you said about being taking care of your ecosystem so that it works for your spirit, not just for your business, is so key, and such a feminine, beautiful, magic power witch thing. I have a Spitfire. It's gonna be Spitfire.
Oh God.
So it's gonna
Okay.
be really
It
great.
can't go on forever,
No,
Kimball. Okay.
no, you could.
No. I'm
No,
terrible at these. I always take forever and
it,
I'm gonna get
no,
to the point.
no, don't stress. Already go away. I'm gonna tell you the version of a part of you and what you learned from her. And we're gonna
Okay.
start with the dancer. So I'll say the dancer and you'll say, I learned this from the dancer. And then I'll keep going all the way.
Okay.
So, what did you learn from the dancer?
Devotion, how to leap,
Uh,
and family. Actually, because my dance community was my family. I learned how to be in a family.
oh my God, okay. From the actor.
To listen to others, like, is to offer a healing. So I think that all we want is to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
So true listening is an act of healing.
The
And
director.
that your
Okay.
voice, oh,
No,
sorry, see, I told you.
tell me.
The Your voice is meant to be free.
Oof. Okay. The director.
It's a team sport. It's always everything. It's all a team sport.
I love this. The writer.
She's my soul. So tell the truth.
Oh, the coach.
It's the Ram Dass. It's not mine, but we're all just walking each other home. It's just
Um, the entrepreneur.
anything is possible.
The partner. The in relationship.
You, when you're overthinking it, you're forgetting love.
The mother.
Our only job is to let people be free.
The goddess.
Shine, baby.
And last but not least, Little Liz.
It's just all so fantastic. It's all just, it's just a big enthusiasm orgasm.
Uh, you don't have to, but can you commit to something here with me that you will do to bring Little Liz into the next chapter of Liz Kimball?
I'm gonna I'm going to prioritize beauty. And I'm going to make it, I think it's an afterthought sometimes. And I think that this dress, I didn't even cut out the doll.
I did it. I did it for us.
You did.
I
Also,
did it.
my cutting is like toddler
This
level because I
is
hang out with
hard.
toddlers.
It's intricate.
It is kind of calming though. I think that's when I was cutting it, I was like, oh, it's calming.
I,
It is like a sort of nervous system calming thing.
yes, I mean, cutting and pasting is the ultimate childhood pastime.
I, I think I feel like beauty, it just is like lower in hierarchy for me. You know, in the ways are we just construct these hierarchies of what matters. And I think actually it's something I'm here. I have something here about beauty.
Oh,
And not our looks, but beauty in the world. And this is helping me remember that.
I love that. Liz, this has meant so much to me. I am so grateful that you took this time to play with me. We are done for today. Is there anything else that you would like to share with people around the creative process? You don't have to. We've said plenty.
Well, here's what I'm going to share.
Yeah.
I can't not. So I love to play games.
Yes.
My husband does not love to play games. I make up games all day long. It's
Oh my
actually,
God.
I think my kids are starting to be in the age where it's going to be great.
Yeah.
They don't really get them right now, but I'm always like, so I just make up, but they're like self-development games. So, but I like to play this game, like if you weren't, what are the other things, if you weren't sort of in this expression right now, what other expressions you would be? Because I think my husband has really clear ones, like he would be, he's a choreographer, but he would be like a kind of disaster relief, like FEMA. He'd be like the head of FEMA. Like it's so clear. And then so we were like, well, what about me? Like, what would you be? And there was silence because I don't have any real world skills. Like case in point,
Nice.
I have zero. Like if the world was ending, I would just sit with you and talk about your deep feelings. Like that's what I can offer. That's what I will be offering in the world ending. Like I can't get anybody water. Like I don't have any real skills. So we were like, what else could I do? Like nothing. And then he paused and then he said, you could be a princess. That's what you could be.
Oh my God, keeper.
I was like, actually, I think I could be a princess. Like a
Because
princess,
you could lead. You're a leader.
Yeah, yeah. And then I get to nurture my love of clothes that I've repressed, obviously.
Oh my God. There's this quote, I'm going to read it because I love it. We can revolutionize the world we were born into by using the witchcraft skills of compassion, genius, insight, and intuition. And I think this, it just like encompasses the natural power that women have. And when you say I have no skills, like my brain does not process because you changed my life. So I'm like,
right.
You have the skills that matter.
No, I mean like, no, I can't build you a house.
I get it.
I can't even put up anything on my wall, and like I can't cook.
No, but like you have more important things to give the world.
I'm just trying to be obedient to the call, like Maya Angelou says, and that requires you to just be really humble about all the other stuff.
Oh, that is beautiful, and I think that is the perfect invitation to end with, to really be obedient to the call, to whoever watches this at whatever time and space they do. I think that's the greatest gift you can give to yourself.
I totally agree. This has been such a delight.
Oh my God. I love you. I will talk to you soon. Here's Diana. I did do a second dress.
I love that one.
Yeah, it's also off the shoulder, and
we're loving off the shoulder.
Yeah, it's a moment. I love you so much. Thank you for joining me. Oh my God, Sarah, we love you. And stay tuned for more play dates, people.
Play.
We're gonna write a song. It's gonna be great. I love you, Liz. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.